Hello there, Pursuing Freedom friends. Thank you guys for being with us today. Before we dig into today's episode, I wanted to share with you a resource that you guys can find on my website, pursuingfreedom.com, as you are heading into 2020, if you're listening to this in 2019. It's the free, fun, and easy 5-step guide to more referrals. So if you are looking to grow your referral business and are looking for a creative yet authentic way to connect with your people, provide value, be a resource above and beyond what you get paid to do, this particular freebie will outline a strategy that worked really well for me and has worked time and again every time I need a restart, which we all do from time to time. So I would highly recommend go to pursuingfreedom.com, download it, and I hope it helps you and give me some feedback if it does. Or if it doesn't, I'm open to all kinds of feedback. Anyhow, let's jump into today's episode. We've got Christina Ward with us. Christina is the owner of Christina and Company with Keller Williams out in Boise, Idaho. And I had the pleasure of meeting Christina at the Genuine Hustle Conference in October in Boise, which, by the way, if you're looking for an awesome conference that you don't want to miss in 2020, I would highly recommend you keep an eye out for the Genuine Hustle Conference in Atlanta, Georgia next year, October 15th. I was super blown away by Christina. She is master of systems. She's got an amazing team. She's doing an awesome job following kind of the millionaire real estate agent strategy in the Gary Keller book. If you haven't read that, I recommend it. And she's also a mama to 2 young ones. And so she's basically crushing it at life and business. And I just had to have her on the show. So thank you, Christina, for being with us today.
Thank you, Erin. I loved meeting you, and I was taking notes while I was on the panel with you. So thank you for sharing all of your wisdom too.
Oh my gosh. Well, we were feeding off each other. So this is going to be really fun today. So we always start from the beginning, Christina. Tell us a little bit about your journey, the how, when, and why you got into real estate and kind of what it's been like for you along the way. And we'll go from there.
Cool. Thanks. Well, I got into real estate on accident, like most of our stories are. That wasn't my life goal when I was little to become a realtor. I babysat for a family that were realtors. And so when I was in college, kind of graduating college, looking for my next job, they asked if I would interview to be their transaction coordinator. I had to Google what that meant. I didn't know anything about real estate. And then they became my mentors. And then I started even selling more houses than they do, and which they were like top awesome agents in Boise. And I was so grateful I learned from them. And I was 23 when I started.
So were you 23 when you became a TC or when you went out on your own?
I was 23 when I became a TC, and then 24 when I became a realtor. And I think I still did a little TC for them and then started selling. And that was right before the recession, the Great Recession. So I got to experience 2005 and 2006, not much success because I was so young. And then also got to live through the big scary times of 8, 9, 10, and 11. And I'm grateful for those times. It was definitely 2010 or 11, I can't remember which year, was what my husband and I called the rice and beans era. And we were struggling. And there was 5 months, no sales was my worst struggle.
Wow.
And then there was, we're pretty conservative people. We still don't buy new cars. We don't buy big houses. We just like to kind of just live simply. We go on great vacations. Don't get me wrong. Like we live a great life in a big life, but we just are, especially after going through what we went through with the recession, we're just not willing to risk it all. We wanted to be conservative and be prepared for if it happens again. And hopefully it doesn't. And then we just have lots of money to go buy a more investment property. But we were, I remember, I think it was February 2011, I couldn't make my whole credit card payment for the first time because we really pulled back on our expenses then. But still, I couldn't make it. I think a car broke or something. And then I moved my business to Keller Williams that month, which was also a risk, and joined the B&I group, which was a risk because that was expensive. I mean, both moving your real estate license to another brokerage, even just getting business cards when you have no money, and paying $500 to be in a leads group. My husband kind of questioned it, and I said, this is my last chance. But I wrote a resume. I was ready to go get a real job. And in that March, I sold a $75,000 house. Like $75,000 was the house, not the commission.
Yeah.
And that paid for a class called BOLD, Business Objective Life by Design. Anyone can take the class. It is a Keller Williams class, but it's probably in any major city near you. And out of anyone from any brokerage can take it. And I started lead generating. And so I started calling my database. In the class, they have you contact 100 people a week. And I'm a rule follower, as you know, and I'm a former athlete. I just do what someone better than me tells me to do. And so I started calling my database and calling every business card I could get a hold of, talking to every person I could in line, because I was told I'm supposed to talk to 100 people a week. And then that June, I sold 7 houses in 1 month.
Whoa.
So like from 5 months, no money, no income, to like 7 in 1 month from calling my people.
Okay. So in March, you sold a $75,000 house and just one house, which was the first sale after 5 months with no paycheck.
Yeah.
And then from March to June, you went from having a $75,000 sale to having 7 closings in 1 month.
Mm-hmm. And I'd never done that before.
That's huge. Okay. There's a lot we have to unpack here. First of all, I didn't realize that we were living parallel lives as much as we were. That's so crazy, because I'll never forget in March of 2011, going to a seminar, paying $500 on my credit card, totally broke and in debt, and really feeling hopeless again, not for the first time in my journey, but great. And then it's interesting, because this is super important, I think, for listeners, is that wherever you are in your journey, and if you're feeling stuck, there's no excuse not to invest in yourself. Would you agree?
Right. Yeah. And Gary Keller says everyone's 5 years away from having whatever they want. And so I kind of operate in fear sometimes, being afraid of having that happen again, because it was terrible. I mean, I got almost close to being desperate, but I decided not to be desperate, because that's not going to help with sales either. But that was hard when you needed to sell something. But now that I know that you've pulled yourself out of the hardest, hopefully, recession we'll ever see in our lifetime. And, we got clear on that we don't need everything. We don't need fancy cars. We don't need fancy houses. I don't need to pay for Zillow leads either. That's why I'm so passionate about a profitable business, because it's going to allow me to have, this year, even though we're going to sell 130 homes this year, in February this year, we sold 1 house. So that was not a profitable month, but I just wrote a check. So I got lots of money. And so then I don't have to freak out if I just have a bad month. And it actually kind of got me going and helped me learn from those failures, instead of have to fail totally out of the business.
No, totally. Well, it's just funny, like looking back to that 2011, is that you joined a BNI group. So did I.
Cool.
Bold. I went to this other seminar. And let me ask you something, because I think that's really powerful. Like what you're talking about, you went to this bold thing, and you said, I wanted to do what I wanted to get good grades, basically. Right. And I had the same thing. I hired a coaching. And I was like, all right, just tell me what to do, kind of thing. And it wasn't comfortable, right? Like, was it comfortable for you to contact 100 people a week?
No, that's very uncomfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not calls. It's like talking to 100 people a week.
But these are really important key takeaways here, because A, you were almost ready to throw in the towel and you invested in yourself. B, you signed up for some coaching and you did the work because you wanted to get the good grades or whatever you want to call it. But you also said that you wanted to do what people that were ahead of you told you to do. Mm-hmm. And then 3, did I say AB3? Yeah, AB3. C, you did it. You did the work. And that's the thing, is that like, we all know what we could be doing or should be doing to grow our business. And you signed up for a program. You had advice that resonated with you, given to you by people that had success before. And then you actually did the work. And then from March to June, you transformed your business. And in doing so, you transformed your life. And you proved to yourself that anything is possible. And I know that you went on in your career to close 149 transactions in 1 year, which I don't mean to bust your bubble by sharing that news before you had a chance to share it, but like, it's incredible, because that was a turning point for you, right? Like, you had years of struggle, and then you committed, you went all in, you did the work, and you transformed in a matter of a few months, and you proved to yourself that anything is possible. So what did that look like for you? After you closed the 7 in June, then what? Like, where did you go from there?
The next year I made my first hire. So that was the other biggest growth besides getting to 7 in 1 month. So So after I hired an assistant, and then she didn't really work out, my second assistant, but actually both of them helped my business grow, even the one that didn't work out as well. There's lots of learning and failing through hiring, lots of learning. And, but the business doubled with an assistant. And so I did the buyers and the sellers, and then she did the transactions and the marketing. And if I'd done it again, I would have done just the marketing first and had a TC do the transactions. But she was super high capacity. She did it all. And we sold like 50 houses, I think, that next year together. And she didn't even get up and going until June. I also hired a coach. So from that Bold program, same company, I hired a weekly coach that I talk to once a week for 30 minutes. And he now actually runs the whole MAPS program, sister company to Keller Williams now. So I feel really lucky he was my coach. He's in Colorado, Joe Bogart, where he used to be. He's in Austin, Texas now.
I met him. I know him. That's awesome.
He changed my life. The biggest thing that coaching has done for my business and life is I hear agents say this all the time. I already know what to do. I don't need to go to that class. I don't need a coach. I know what to do. But the problem is that we don't do it, or we get so stuck in our head, we don't see clearly. A coach is like on the outside looking in, and they're like, well, duh, you're just doing this one thing wrong, But when we're in the middle of it and in stress, or even in ego gets in our way, we can't see clearly, and coaches just remind us of what we want, not what they want, what we want, what our goals are. So that first year I had Joe as my coach. I was bragging to him about how awesome I was, because I was selling I was going to do like 7 million. In that time, 7 million at that time when prices were really low, that was a lot of houses. And so I was telling him how awesome I was, that I've never done 7 million before. And he never told me I was awesome, which is actually, I like that in a coach. And he would always say, well, but what's your goal? And I was like, well, my goal is 10 million. This is October already. So it was almost too late. And he's like, well, how committed are you to your goal? And I said, well, I'm committed, but I'm happy with 7. Like, that's better than I've ever done. And he said, well, are you out of integrity then with me? Because you said you wanted to do 10 million. And when he said integrity, it struck me, because I'm like, well, I do what I say I'm going to do. Like, that's who I am. And so it got me going. And Kelly and I, my assistant and I, Joe helped me figure out how many houses I had listed and how many buyers I had that were going to buy in 30 days. Both of those. So we knew how many we would get pending realistically, and then how many more I needed to go find pretty quickly, since it was middle of October, in order to close by the end of December. And it was like 10 more houses. So it was kind of hard.
Yeah.
And we did it. We wrote 10 houses on the board, and we filled in every rep I got, every listing or buyer I got. I got better at price reductions. My parents bought a house randomly. They were visiting Boise, and they're like, let's go shopping for fun. And I was like, well, let's make the closing date in January, because that would make sense for you. And they're like, no, because they knew my goal. They're like, no, we want it to be a part of your, we want you to get to be 10 million. So they closed. All this magical things happened. And it was because he got me focused on the most important things. Instead, my ego allowed me to coast, and he got me back on track.
That's so amazing.
We did 10.4 million.
Oh my gosh, that's so awesome. So talk to me a little bit about when you started making those 100 calls, what exactly, can you dig into this a little bit? Because when someone hears that, I think that sounds overwhelming, or it feels overwhelming. And also there's a lot of, what am I going to say? There's a lot of, I don't know what to talk about. And so what did it look like specifically to get from 0 to 60 in such a short period of time and have that level of results?
Well, I can just tell you what I say on those calls when I'm in bold, and then I can tell you what I say on calls when I'm not in bold, because I'm taking bold for the 14th time right now. So I'm really in love with bold, because it's literally changed my life. So a couple bolds ago, I closed I couldn't do it by myself. We closed 20 houses in a month. So that bold bump, it literally is like magic. I take the class, I get into more lead generation, and then a couple months after the class, there's usually a record-breaking month. So we had a 20 house month. That was great from bold. So when I'm in bold, I call my database and I say, Hey, Erin, it's Christina Ward at Christina and Company Keller Williams Realty Boise, and I'm wondering if you have 2 minutes to help me with a problem. And then you say, sure, great. So I'm in this great class, I'm in a competition, and I'm in need of 10 referrals by the end of the month in order to win. And because we actually do track our referrals and, you win. And so anyway, who do you know who's thinking about buying a house, selling a house, or investing in real estate that I can call today? And for some reason, that script really is great for my database. My database is full of athletes and competitors, and they're like, oh, you win? How fun. Even when I call my parents, they find me leads. Like, you think that they're going to send you, like, people that love you the most will send you referrals, but when they hear I'm in a competition, they go way out of their way. They're like, I'm just going to go down the street and talk to my neighbor because it seems like they're packing up. And maybe they wouldn't have gone out of their way to do that. It's not their job. And I think that's what we think. We get our feelings hurt when our best friend buys a house. And I'm like, well, somebody else was touching them more than we were. We got to be in front of them. And it's not their job to remember us. The average person knows 5 realtors at least. Like, that's a statistic, but it seems like everyone knows 10. So I feel like the phone calls to the database is what gets us to be thought of first. And I can't tell you how many people I call and they're like, wow, it's so weird you called me today. We were just talking about moving.
Mm-hmm. Always.
And the more people I call, the more I realize they already moved in between my calls. Like, people that aren't really my database people, like an open house lead or something. The more people I call, the more business I realize I lose and the more business I gain.
It's amazing that you're touching upon this because I shared this story at Genuine Hustle, I think, but we did a little experiment in the beginning of the year. And you were talking about closing 1 transaction in February. We closed 3, which we were overstaffed for that. So that also was not a profitable month. So same kind of thing, was like, all right, go re-engage with the database, make the calls, and watch the business go from 3 to 9 to 12 to 17. In a matter of 4 months. It's possible.
Mm-hmm.
But what was crazy is that we had this goal of getting, we wanted 33% of our business to be repeat and referral from past clients. Since most of our business comes from realtors, we felt like we could provide value by generating that repeat client and then getting them back with their agent. And from January to April, we went from 22% repeat and referral to 50% repeat and referral, from our leads, okay, by putting attention on the database. Well, the scary statistic is that out of all the repeat clients, only 50% were working with the same agent again. So we would say to the client, oh, are you working with Christina again? Because I just saw her the other day, and I'm, or like, are you going to reach out to her? And it's like, oh no, we're actually working with Bob Smith this time around because da 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 da. Like, I know him through yada yada, right? Because everyone knows a lot of realtors, and so that was interesting because it was like, wow. Keeping in touch with the database is so important and will guarantee success, yet it seems to be something that is really hard for people to stay consistent with. So how do you incorporate consistency in your lead generation activities, even when you're doing, you've closed 149 transactions in 1 year? So how do you maintain consistency with those calls so that they become non-negotiable to ensure that your business doesn't dry up again?
Mm-hmm. Well, definitely the calls were very consistent for a year from that 2011 to Spencer was born in 2014. In 2014, when Spencer was born, was the most units we've sold ever. This year we'll sell higher in volume, but I'm not going to take credit for that. That was kind of the market that's helping us. So the calls were consistent, and then there was just a topic for each call. And then I'll talk about kind of my failures and my lack of calls more recently. So usually I'm calling once a year with the bold script because I'm in bold almost 1 time a year. So I'm in a competition script. A second call could be like literally not asking for a referral. Because I don't know. I just don't want to ask them I don't want people thinking I'm calling just to ask for a referral every single time. I want to come from contribution. Even with asking for a referral, I want it to be valuable for people in some way and be full of gratitude. So another call would be like, hey, we've got a great list of service providers. What do you need for your house right now? What are you working on? Who can I connect you with? Kind of a connection call. Another one is strictly gratitude towards the end of the year. maybe inviting them to our pie event or, some client appreciation party, but a gratitude phone call, gratitude for referrals, and gratitude for their support. I'll even be specific with their referrals, like, hey, you connected me with so-and-so, who connected me with so-and-so, that changed my life. And then another thing I've implemented more recently is a call around being kind of like someone's financial planner. So like, hey, I'd like to do an overview of all of your assets, your real estate assets, your portfolio, and do a market analysis. And my husband and I call it a 5-minute market analysis. And so it's not really detailed, but we could do a quick little search on if they own an investment property or own another house, and just give them the details of where they're at financially and just add value like that. And sometimes it's amazing. We did one this week and it turned into a double listing appointment. He has a land and a house to sell. And it's just because we did a market analysis for them.
That's huge. That's awesome. So how do you schedule that into your life and, the busyness and make sure that it gets in there and it gets done?
Well, that's been how it's kind of failed. It is in my time block, and the database keeps growing. So we have 1,300 people that with a full email, address, phone number, full contact that we do the 52 touch program to. That I'll get to the details on that. And then we have like thousands of other emails that we just send monthly newsletters to. But I noticed as I started to have the babies and I decided I wanted to only work like 30 or 35 hours a week and not 80 like I used to. I have a serious love affair for real estate. Like I love real estate and Kate, I'm happy working 80 hours a week. Although I have somebody I love, some buddies, my husband and my kids, I love more than real estate. So I started working less hours and I noticed my calls weren't as much of a priority. It was hiring. It was, training, it was taking care of even a lot of the inbound leads. Now we have lots of inbound leads, but I've noticed the last couple of years I'm starting to lose some of those relationships. And so my coach has me going back to the 4 calls a year only to my MVPs. So I'm only calling my most valuable people that refer tons of business to us, that are like go out of their way to refer, and to really pour into those guys that it's the 80-20 rule. It sends us the most to take care of us, and we want to take care of them.
I love that.
So I've time blocked the MVP calls to Monday morning, and then follow-up calls on Tuesday mornings, and then calling for talent, like new team members, agents, or admin on Thursday morning. And that's helped me stay focused.
I love that. I always talk about the importance of having simple rules. And that's the perfect example of just simple rules. This is what I do when. And it's not like you're not carving out every single hour of every day and trying to schedule yourself to the tilt, because that's not realistic when there's so much reactive and so much white space we need to leave. So like that is such a great example of simplicity that works. Do you have, along those lines, do you have a rule where you don't take appointments before a certain time of day because you have to allow for those calls to get done?
Yes, I do not go on appointments unless there are emergencies in the morning. That's when I lead generate. And the only reason why I don't lead generate on Wednesdays or Fridays is I stay home with the kids. Hardest job ever, I think. I bow down to stay-at-home moms. That's so hard. And so my appointments are scheduled for Tuesday. I will take one on Wednesday afternoon, even though I'll be with the kids on Wednesday morning. Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday afternoons, 1:30, or Wednesday night, Thursday night, 6:30 p.m., or Saturday at 1 p.m. Those are my only openings. And the way we explain it to people is it's like almost like a doctor. So we've set aside hours for new clients, and new clients take hours sometimes for us to get all the details and get to know them. And then we'll be able to really spend all of our time taking care of them after we have those first new client appointments. And, if there's an emergency, I'll meet someone on a Sunday, or I'll move around my date night. Our date night's on Tuesday night, and I'll move it to Wednesday night and go on a listing appointment Tuesday night. So it's not like so set in stone I'm going to let go of a potential client, but it has helped me really spend the most quality time in the office, and I used to just say yes to everybody, and I was just bouncing around town, spending most of my time in my car. the 6:30 p.m. appointment gets me outside of the rush hour traffic too. And so I eat dinner with my family, and then I go on a later appointment faster to get to someone's house.
So let me ask you something just out of sheer curiosity, because I remember a time in my journey where I was getting pretty burnt out and I wanted more time with the kids. And I was sort of doing that whole like working 80 hours a week and feeling guilty about it. Mm-hmm. And I carved some more space into my schedule to do like what you said, and you take off Wednesdays and Fridays to be with your kids. Is it easy or hard for you to be mentally and emotionally present? Like, we can be physically present with our loved ones and sometimes be preoccupied or distracted and somewhere else, right, in our head. Is that something that is like a challenge for you, or are you used to it now? Like, I just think that's something that other listeners might have a question about, because some of us are such drivers that it's like we might carve out the space and physically show up, but we're still thinking about work all the time. Are you able to like kind of shut your brain off a little bit and just get into playtime?
Yeah, so that's something I'm working on. I have not quite mastered yet. And one thing that's helped is just to schedule the kids from 4 to 6. So it says kids in my calendar, 4 to 6, or family, I think it says. And so I tell my clients even that I work all the time, but that time is for the family. And so that helps my mind, even myself, to set that expectation up front that I don't typically answer calls or respond from 4 to 6 on weekdays. And then it's like awesome, because I think sometimes we just get in our own way. We just think we don't have enough time at work or at home. But then if I like physically see, I'm like, wow, I have 2 hours. Like, that's a lot. Like, even 5 minutes quality time is a lot. Like 2 hours with them. And then I get to go back and talk to adults again if I have an appointment this evening. And that's fun too. And so I just, instead of thinking it's not, like, it's almost just a mindset thing. Like, it is enough and it's awesome and it's quality. And I just leave my phone in the room. And I'm not perfect. And I like to get better. I just did some work on my mind, and it's called like mental emotional release work, kind of like therapy a little bit, but it's like through like neuro-linguistic programming practitioners. And one thing that I realized from the work is that I felt responsible for everybody's livelihood. It's like that was weighing on me. And that's where I think we get kind of crazy with our mind, thinking about a million different things. As women, we're capable of thinking of a million different things. And so I was feeling worried and responsible for my team members when I was at home, worried and responsible for my kids and my husband when I was at work. And I just wasn't really a good person to be around this last year. And the release work that I did has like literally, and it happened last week, it was like a 2-day event. I feel calmer and more present than I've ever been, because it's not true what I was thinking. And that's just a limiting belief. Like, we all have your listeners' limiting beliefs might not be like, well, that's crazy. Like, she feels responsible for everyone's livelihood. Like, that's dumb. Well, yeah, but that's what I believe. And so when I released that limiting belief and I realized it's in my subconscious, not conscious, you can't just say, oh, I'm releasing it, like my actually subconscious work, that I no longer feel all strung out. And I still get stressed. There's stressors in all of our lives, but it's just not important. I don't care if someone hates me anymore. I used to care last week.
I swear we are living parallel lives, because I went through this similar, I didn't do the neuro-linguistic programming, but it was over the summer, I found myself showing up in a fun way in my life, in my physically present at the campsite, or physically present, with my kids paddleboarding or doing something that looks from the outside looking in really fun and like everything is awesome. But mentally and emotionally, I was preoccupied. I was somewhere else. I was worrying about the deal that was falling apart, or I was stressing about the emotions of people on my team, or whatever the case might be, right? So I was realizing that, we all say that we work hard to provide for our family, or that we are in this business for freedom and flexibility. But then I don't know a lot of people that are actually permitting themselves that freedom and flexibility, or giving themselves the enjoyment of the moments that we are working so proactively to create for ourselves. Like, we could create space, we can scale our business, we can hire team members, we can take a day off to be with our kids. But if we're not really there mentally and emotionally, we're not really doing ourselves any service or the people around us, you know? So it's so crazy that you just went through something like that, because I feel like this is a really important topic in our industry these days, how we're just constantly connected to our phones, to our work, whatever. And in doing so, we're disconnecting from our present reality, whatever it is. So that's really interesting. That's really cool. Another question I have for you is, I know that you have a team in place now and you've got agents and whatnot. Do you think that it is realistic for a solo agent to have the kind of rules that you have in place for your schedule, to say that I take appointments at 1:30 on these days, at 6:30 on these days, and at this time on Saturday? Do you think that that is a realistic goal for somebody who doesn't have a team in place, or do you think that that's mainly possible for you because of the fact that you're surrounded by amazing support?
Well, especially that 4 to 5 period where there's like closings and stuff. If there wasn't support, I wouldn't really, something could go wrong from 4 to 5. Houses sometimes don't close, and which is terrible. But if there's somebody that's behind a desk all day that's in charge of the transactions, like Danielle and our team, then I can be a little bit of peace, and she'll tell me I'm not going to be available. Will you watch everything that's happening? And so yes, that helps. That definitely helps to have leverage. I think that if someone was an individual agent and they wanted to start have leverage, I'd look at leverage at home first, because it's cheap leverage. So leverage you can fire fast. Because when you get into a relationship with an assistant and you love them and then they're just maybe not successful in the role, you have to fire them. It's like the worst thing ever. I don't like doing that. I don't want to do that. So at home, there's so many great ways that we can leverage home so we can be present with our kids. There's laundry services, there's dry cleaning pickup, there's food delivery. We do Green Chef. So we get boxes of food. So we still make it, but we don't have to do any of the thinking of what we're going to buy. And that helps. And like vegan and organic and what we like to eat anyway. And we have amazing parents that help us at home. That's free leverage. We just take them on trips sometimes and buy them gifts. My parents are amazing with help at home. Our nanny, I have an expectation list for nannies or babysitters, and they are to be the mom when they're home. And what I mean by be the mom, and I think that's where we forget, like we need to people want to help, and people are capable of doing more than they do. They just don't know what they're supposed to do. So be the mom is what I coach my babysitters on. And if the kids are playing together, they're doing dishes like I would. Like if I have a second at home, I'm like doing something. I'm doing laundry, dishes, sweeping the floors, packing for tomorrow's lunch, whatever. So we have our babysitters and nannies be the mom. You asked something else, and I wanted to say something else, but now I forget. It was around, team leverage. If I was a single agent and I have the kids, it would be hard. That's really hard. With little ones, I would probably hire showing assistants and a transaction coordinator in the business. If I had enough money my goal is to spend more time with the kids. I think that some of us, when we think about leverage, we think about it in the business, hiring a full-time administrative person or hiring a buyer's agent first. And those are really expensive hires. Transaction coordinator is whatever it is, $300 to $500 a deal. And a showing assistant can be $20, $25 a door or a percentage of the closing. And there's an agent in Florida. I just saw him in a mastermind. And he has the most profitable business I've ever seen. And it's him and his wife. And they have one assistant and a showing assistant. And they have a bigger life than me. And they have lots of extra time. And their assistant and showing agents are very successful too. It's so cool to see that lean kind of business model instead of like hiring a whole bunch of buyer's agents and just giving them all your leads. And then you split 50% with them. It's like, wow, that's expensive for the business owner. And instead like leading them, starting them at maybe a lower paid split, but showing them a vision that they can move into buyer agent role, they can move into leadership, and painting that vision forward, but starting them where they are, which is they're learning from a great agent, like your agent's watching, and shadowing. It's paid training. Like we kind of cut ourselves short on that sometimes.
Yeah, that's really a good way of looking at it. Paid training. I like that. One question I have for you, because you mentioned that when you hired your first grade assistant, your business doubled. And the same exact thing happened to me. I'm not making this up. We are living parallel lives. It's kind of freaking me
This
out a
is
little
so
bit here.
cool.
But the same thing happened after a lot of ups and downs, a lot of years of like struggling, finding traction, slowing down, ramping up, slowing down. And then, offloading all the activities that drain me personally, sap my energy because I'm just not good at it. And then because I'm not good at it, I don't do it that well. And then I beat myself up for not doing it well. And then there's a whole emotional aspect of that like you go down the rabbit hole about like how much you suck or whatever.
Yeah.
So like when you offload all the things that you're not good at and focus on what you enjoy and what you're good at and what moves the needle, all of a sudden your business doubles. And that I hear this time and again. So what advice do you have for an agent who's considering that at some stage in their journey, they may want to have a team or an assistant or whatever? Like, when is the right time? Because you mentioned something a minute ago where you said like, when you have enough money. Well, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? So what's your advice for that? Like, when is the right time? How much volume before you can justify it? Or can you justify it right away in order to get to the volume you want to get to?
Well, I love that question. I think it depends on everybody's how willing they are to take risks. And as I explained, we're pretty conservative with our risks and our money. But my coach pushed me when I said, well, I don't really feel comfortable setting it when I was hiring my first assistant, or thought I needed to hire my first assistant. I said, I don't really feel comfortable setting aside $30,000 or $40,000 a year salary. Like, that's a lot of money. And he said, worry about 3 to 6 months salary and make sure that they know their job description is to replace that salary in 3 to 6 months. So don't worry about a whole year's salary. Like, just set aside 3 to 6 months, and they need to know they don't have a job if they haven't replaced that, if they haven't grown the business by that much.
Wow, that's interesting. But how does somebody that's a new, admin assistant or something like that, how do they know that they are successfully replacing that for you or for themselves, I guess, to keep their job?
I guess like you just would line out, like, here's how many units we sell, or here's how much profit we sell. So we need to see that much more profit, preferably, in your salary by, the next 3 months. And so just break it down to the exact amount. Because the hardest part about being an assistant is that you don't get to like sell a house and have that like immediate gratification. Like, I just sold a house and I moved the business forward. Like, admin support, they are doing all the little things behind the scenes to allow us to go sell more houses. So, my admin job descriptions are really long. And actually, I don't know if you can see it, but there's like these popsicle sticks in a picture behind me. Mm-hmm. So we like literally took everyone's jobs and wrote them on popsicle sticks and then put them under, it says listing partner right there. I'm hiring for a listing partner. And we put everyone's jobs under their job name, all their little jobs. My job, I only have 5 jobs. And then admin's popsicle sticks were like this long. They do a million things. But my job is what really grows the business. And if I go do the million things, like the 80%, then I'm not growing the business at all. So my job is lead generate. And I don't make any of this up. I got this all from the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. Lead generate, lead follow-up, practice and role play, go on appointments, and negotiate contracts. And so I just got to do all that a lot. Like, it's not like I'm just sitting around on a beach, I'm just doing a whole bunch of the same thing over and over again. So really the admin's only job is to make sure I do my 5 jobs. And what Kelly did, my first assistant that grew the business so much, she would notice I'm doing her job and she'd steal it from me. She'd be like, what are you doing? You're reading an inspection. You're supposed to be lead generating. And that's hard for an admin profile, but she had the confidence I gave her the permission to do it. I asked her to hold me accountable. And she said, give me that inspection. I'm going to read it and take care of it. And you're going to call new clients.
I love that. That's a really important thing, is that you told her, that you wanted to be held accountable, because the verbiage I've used in the past is, I'm looking for someone to manage me. I need someone to tell me where to go and when to be and who I'm supposed to be talking to. So like, I'm going to ask you to organize all that. Tell me what to do and I'll do it. And as long as I'm in my lane, I know what I'm good at and what it's going to work. Right. So like, but can you tell me where to be? Because I don't even want to keep myself organized. Like,
Yeah.
be my manager.
Boss.
Yeah.
Boss.
And, yeah, it's awesome. Because if you set that expectation when you're hiring the person, then they know what they're supposed to do. And then they may not be so shy to redirect you when you're going off course again.
Yeah.
I heard a funny thing one time that Brian Buffini, I heard one of his webinars a long time ago, but he said that because I know he hired on some of his brothers, and he said one time he came into the office and they had actually removed his chair and his desk because they're like, if you're here sitting in this chair at this desk, you're not doing your job. So they removed it. So anytime he came in the office, he had to sit on the floor. And so it's kind of like, get back out there and go grow the business, because that's what keeps our jobs. That's cool. Okay. Last thing I want to ask you, because I think this is pretty cool. And I really admire you for being so disciplined and having these systems and always, it sounds like working on improving yourself and your systems along the way. And I admire that because it's not my strength. So I really think your discipline is amazing. So talk to us a little bit real quick before we wrap up about the 52 touches and how it came to be and what it encompasses now.
Yeah, it didn't start with 52. 52 touches is emails, mail, calls, client appreciation parties, all the things. It didn't start with that. So I don't want anyone to feel overwhelmed if they're doing 0. But there is, I call the database the data bank. There is money missing from your world, income from your world if you're not talking to your database. Past clients and friends, people already like us. We might as well be the realtor they think of when they need real estate help or when they have a referral. So the 52 touches is overkill over time. Maybe nobody else is doing it as much as I am. That's, they hear from other realtors, but not as many times. And also, it doesn't work unless they trust you. So there might be someone out there that didn't work with me because they don't trust me for some reason, or they trust someone else more. So it's not like every single person in my database works with us. But of the 130 sales, it'll be about 80% were repeat or referrals this last year. The first set of touches that I did before it became 52 is a newsletter that I get from By Referral Only. It's a coaching company in San Diego. I no longer coach with them because I coach with Matt, but I do still pay $50 a month for their content. And I call it like a clean cosmopolitan. It's just nothing about real estate. It's just kind of fun articles that goes in the mail. My elderly and my children, like my clients' kids and my elders love the newsletter. Like they send pictures of them reading it and people expect it in yellow, black and white. And then there's 12 emails that go out. The print newsletter goes first of the month. The email goes middle of the month. And that's more Boise, Idaho specific on the real estate market or things going on in our community. And that goes out to all my realtor partners. It goes out to my whole database, even the thousands of people we don't have mailing addresses for. That's just like a 12 direct system that goes out middle of the month. And it's got a family update in there. It's got a Boise market update. So it's specific. It's got all of our sales. So I have people coming up to me that says, wow, they say, wow, you're selling a lot of houses. So I don't have to say, I'm selling a lot of houses because that's weird. I don't want to say that to someone. They tell me I'm selling a lot of houses and it gets us into a real estate conversation. We have a 40% open rate in those emails. So Gary Keller taught me in a mastermind in the last couple of years that the stuff you send to your clients and friends need to be valuable, so valuable that someone would pay for it. Like a subscription almost. And so we always are thinking about like, what do people want? Like, what would they read? And why would they open our emails when they get so many emails? And so it's hard. People are too busy to open emails right now. So I really want to provide value in those emails. And then we do 4 client appreciation parties a year. And there's emails, phone calls, text messages around all those parties. That would be a whole nother conversation. It would take too long to explain all that. But the biggest thing is we do a home makeover. So we make over a family in need house, like just paint and carpet and basic stuff. We do a potluck for our families in the summer, jump house, face painting. People bring food, so it's really a cheap party for us, but it's a park. And then we do a masquerade ball. That's for our MVPs only, for our top clients, and it's full bar, appetizers, fancy dress up party. And then we do the pies, like what a lot of agents do. It's pies at Albertsons, and people come by, they can get a drink, they can just go shopping. We give them like 150 pies this time of year.
Amazing.
And then the 4 phone calls and a Thanksgiving card.
I love that. I love it. I love it. Awesome. Thank you for sharing that, because I feel like even if somebody just takes 4 of those touches, it might be more than what they're doing now. And
Exactly.
so, that's the thing, is like, start small, start where you are, right? And then and build from there. And obviously, with the support you have in place, it's probably easier to execute with consistency. And I think that's a big piece of it too, is that like, we can intend to do something the way that we do it because we don't want to delegate it to somebody else. And we might only do it 20% of the time, even if we do it perfectly. Or we can delegate it to somebody who might do it like 80% as good as we think we would do it, but they do it 100% of the time. That's going to be more effective.
Right. Well, I would recommend people doing, if they're going to add a couple things, a couple touches to their strategies, to their database, I'd recommend setting aside a big time block this Christmas, New Year's time, and just time block it for the whole year and make a plan. So like little things, we decide on who's going to be our community coupon for the whole year. Because we highlight a business in our email newsletter. And it's just hard to like, oh crap, we got to find who's going to be our community coupon. I'm trying to sell a house. I'm going to go sell a house instead and then not have a community coupon. So we just do our reach outs when it's kind of quieter and make our plan for the whole year. But yeah, if you sit down with someone else and you're like, I'm hiring you to do this, and maybe that's all they're doing. It's like 10 hours a month or something, or 5 hours a month, 2 hours a month, I don't know. But like their task to do just that job, it will get done. And then I think we could do it, but we really got to stick to the time block and make a plan for the year. And then just remember, if you start emailing your database or start calling or start mailing and then you stop, that's almost a negative reflection on you. It might hurt your business more. So what I notice is top performers, way higher performers than me, they're just really consistent people. And so our pie party, I'm like, doing the pie party again. But like, it's expected. We like do it every single year, and it's just consistent. And people, I joke, they just have to buy or sell a house and they get a pie for their whole life. And we have a hashtag pie for life. And we just do it over and over and over again, and it works.
Yeah, it's huge. And I'm sitting here like being inspired to recommit to some things I've fallen off of, because it's true that consistency is huge. And if you are someone who's not as disciplined as Christina and you're more like me, then you need to surround yourself with people that are disciplined and consistent and detail oriented. And that's really
like a coach.
Yeah. Get a coach to hold you to the fire, tell you what to do. Awesome. Well, we recorded for much longer than I promised you, Christina, because you're so full of great information. And I mean, this is just really awesome. And I'm leaving this call really inspired to get back to the basics, to be honest, and start envisioning my 2020 here with my marketing plan. So thank you. And seriously, just thank you for taking the time to be on the show today.
Thank you, Erin. Well, when you get that plan in order, I'd like to see it. So I'll hold you accountable to it. So send me, between Christmas and New Year, send me your plan for the year.
Okay.
And maybe one of your agents can do that for you.
I love that.
For them, for you. And then 100%. You guys hold each other accountable.
I love it. I love it. And all of you guys for tuning in today. I hope you got some value here. I'm sure you did, because Christina is amazing. And thank you as always for tuning in. And if you have a moment, don't forget, if you haven't done it yet, please scroll down on the app that you're consuming this content. Look for the little 5-star review, the little pencil, and leave us a review, because it helps us continue to attract these awesome guests like Christina and help this content get found and help continue to get you on your way, on your journey. So thank you. I love and appreciate you. And we'll talk to you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you, Erin. Bye.